Welcome to the next episode of the Miss Collegiate USA Director's Cut Pageant Talk from the Director's Perspective, hosted by yours truly, Dr. Kia Brown, founder and president of the Miss Collegiate USA organization. All right, I am back to reconnect with one of our 2022 national judges. She was Miss South Carolina USA 2022, Meera Bhonslé. Meera, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
I'm excited to have you. I have to admit, you served as a distinguished national judge for the Miss Collegiate USA organization in 2022. And as I was sharing with you earlier, unfortunately, I'm unable to connect with the judges during pageant week because I like to keep that separate. And so our national coordinator, shout out to Erica Taylor, she likes to organize all of the judges. So she had fun with you all weekend long. And so we really didn't have an opportunity to connect. So I want to spend some time getting to know you better.
Yeah, we had a great time with Erica. So she knows how to show people a good time. We had a lot of fun.
She is a great one. I love her, and she is definitely a testament of pageantry sisterhood for me. So I did a little bit of research on you, and I learned that you've been involved in pageantry for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen you hold some titles of Miss Gamecock, Miss Lexington, and of course, Miss South Carolina USA. How has being involved in pageantry impacted your life? And what are some of the, testimonies that you take with you throughout your career?
Yeah, so pageantry really has played a major role in my life since I was before I could even speak. I always like to give background story because it's such an important part of understanding my journey and kind of my testimony as far as, my time in pageantry. So my mom is from Central America. She's from El Salvador and moved to the United States whenever she was 14 years old. Didn't speak any English. Her mom brought her and her 4 sisters up to New York. And so she moved there, was just kind of uprooted from her home and everything she knew, didn't speak any English, had to, start life in America. And so one of the things that came with that was obviously learning how to speak English. And so she would watch a lot of American television. And she said that she would often watch beauty pageants on TV like Miss America and Miss USA and Miss Universe and things like that. And, she's a 14-year-old girl living in New York. And she said that she had always dreamed of competing on one of those stages, but obviously never had the resources to do that. She wasn't a citizen at the time and obviously didn't speak English and they just didn't have the resources. Her family, wasn't very wealthy. And so she would just watch them and just dreamed about it and loved watching the pageants. And that was one way that she learned English. And she just loved watching the pageants. And so she kind of had to let that dream go for herself. But whenever I was born, she put me in my first pageant when I was 5 months old. And it was a local pageant here in the Columbia, South Carolina area where I am born and raised. And I won that pageant. Obviously, I don't remember it because I was 5 months old. But ever since then, it was just kind of something that we have done together for so long. And so I did pageants, throughout middle school and high school. And I would say I really started getting a little bit more serious about it towards the end of my high school career. I competed in my high school pageant, which was Miss Wildcat for Lexington High School. And I ended up winning my senior year, which was honestly kind of a surprise. There were, I want to say in total, there were like 73 girls competing in that pageant. It was the biggest pageant they had ever had. And it was just such a shock because I was one of those that kind of came out of nowhere and I won. And I actually think that I may still be the only person of color that has won that title in the 70, 80 years of that school's history. I don't really know how many years the pageant has run, but huge accomplishment. And so that year, I don't know if she was a former at the time. I think she might have been a current, but she was a Miss South Carolina USA, Megan Pinckney. She's now Megan Rutherford. She was a judge. And after the pageant, she had messaged me and said, "Hey, I think you should try to come over and compete at Miss South Carolina Teen USA. I was still considered a teen at the time. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I was like, oh my gosh, like she thinks I'm somebody, like this is awesome. And
That's big.
so, yeah, and that was like a huge deal to me. I was like, oh my gosh, like she knows who I am. And so it was kind of fangirling, but she kind of planted that seed in me. And I remember signing up to compete. And then a couple weeks before the pageant, didn't go because I was so nervous and so scared because I had this perception of girls that, did Miss America and Miss USA and all these bigger pageants that they were just like untouchable, like icons, I don't know, whatever. And so didn't do it. And then we're just going to kind of fast forward into getting into college. I started to compete in the Miss America organization. So I did a couple of local prelims and then finally won my first one, which was Miss Lexington. And that was in 2015. And so I was Miss Lexington 2016. So I competed at Miss South Carolina America for the first time. And then I did Miss Gamecock. So just kind of the building blocks and the stepping stones were there. And after that, I decided I wanted to kind of move back into the USA system, or I guess start in the USA system. And so I finally just took the leap of faith and I was like, I'm just going to compete. Like, let's do it. And I did it.
Was that your first year competing at USA that you took the state title?
No. So I competed 4 times before I won. And the first year I competed, I placed in the top 5, which I mean was such a shock to me because I had competed in the America system on the state level twice and like didn't place or anything like that. And so the last year I did America was in 2018. And so that was in the summertime. That fall I competed at USA for the first time, placed top 5. And I was like, oh, like I didn't think that this was possible for me, but I just got it was just really exciting. And I kind of fell in love with the system and just the way the weekend went and the directorship. And so I continued on, competed my second year and my third year. And then on my 4th try, I won.
I love that. That's a huge testament because I think there's always pageantry that fits an individual or a young woman. What they're looking for, of course, it's always the day and the set of judges that they're looking for. But when you find a system that really fits your values, then I feel like you hit home. Well, thank you for sharing your journey. I love that you talked about how pageantry, we talk about building self-confidence and building presence and self-improvement. But to hear the story of your mother and learning, something as simple as challenging, but simple that I think people disregard is learning English, learning a new language through pageantry and having something so beautiful captivate her. And then it seems like as soon as she had you, she's like, she's in pageants. She's doing the world of pageantry.
Yeah, it was decided very early on. So,
and mom knew best. So that's amazing to hear the story. And so you talk about it, and I love your personal platform, and you kind of align diversity and representation. And you talked about it in your high school pageant just now, which is amazing. Can you tell us what diversity and representation and pageantry really means to you?
Yeah. So growing up, even though I competed in pageants, a lot of the winners that I would see were they didn't look like me. It was generally white women who had blonde hair and blue eyes. And that was just kind of the standard of beauty. And so I know that for myself, it was really hard to see myself ever winning a pageant, whether it was on, if it was a festival title or a local title or a state title, just because I wasn't seeing women that looked like me be represented. So I just thought it was kind of a shot in the dark for me. And even, as a young adult competing for the title of Miss South Carolina USA, I would go back year after year with the hopes of winning. And also because I just enjoy the experience. But I always kind of counted myself out because I didn't really think that there was a place for me because I was so different. But I learned very quickly that, diversity is so important and that there are so many beautiful women from different, backgrounds, ethnicities, races. And it's so important that we tell the stories of, our respective cultures. So for me, I am half Indian, half Central American. My dad is from India. My mom is from Central America. And I just really value my culture and my background and my upbringing. And so being a title holder that was, of two different ethnicities from the two opposite sides of the country was so incredible because I got to go into a lot of schools and I got to talk to kids who would come up to me and say, "Oh my gosh, my parents are from India," or "My parents are, Hispanic or Latino of some sort." And just making that connection with those kids, I feel like gave them a hope that they can, have a promising future of there is a leader in my community. It doesn't matter, pageant title holder or any other career. It just shows them that they have that representation and that they can achieve their dreams as well. And that was something I needed as a kid. And even though I didn't really have it, it was something that I got to provide to those children. And that is more than I could ask for.
Beautifully said. I know, and I saw the reaction and your representation as Miss South Carolina USA. As well as Miss Collegiate USA 2022, we got to see you compete on the Miss USA stage, and just having that representation and that role model really set a tone. So thank you for your service. Thank you for representing that population that's really evolving in pageantry, something that I love to see.
Yeah.
So talking about Miss USA, you had an opportunity, as they say, there's the chances of your daughter going to the Miss USA is slimmer than your son going to the Super Bowl.
Oh,
What,
yeah.
what was your favorite experience competing at Miss USA at a national competition? And what are some of the takeaways that you gained from that experience?
Yeah, I would have to say probably honestly making friends with all of the women from the other states. It was just such a fun bonding experience. We were kind of in a unique situation in our year. And so I think that it really brought us together and we have such a strong sisterhood. And I mean, like we all still have a group chat going where we check in with each other every now and then. I'm inviting a lot of them to my wedding coming up in July. And so that was just so fun because now I feel like no matter what state I go to, I will have a friend that I can be like, "Hey, want to meet up, want to hang out?" And it wouldn't be like weird or anything. So that was a really cool just thing to have because I think that those relationships are going to last us a lifetime. I have 3 young ladies that were in my Miss USA class that are my bridesmaids this year. And, I have others that I get to hang out with and talk to on the phone frequently. So the sisterhood, amazing. As far as the takeaways go, I just really enjoyed being able to represent my home state on the national stage. I am, South Carolina born and raised. I'm a proud South Carolinian. And so that was the most important thing for me was that I went there and I represented my home state with everything I had. And that went all the way down to choosing my wardrobe and having designers make my wardrobe that were local to my community or, local to the state of South Carolina. And so everything that I wore throughout my time there was locally made for the most part. And that was really special for me.
You looked beautiful on stage. So I was honored to be in the presence of Miss South Carolina USA that was
Thank you.
representative at MCU. So we were really excited, and you definitely shined in every single way. And showing your support for the community, I think, is really important. I look back, you attended the University of South Carolina, School of Journalism and Mass Communications. And you talked a lot about sisterhood. You talked a lot about representation, and it seems like academia as well. Based on what you've learned serving as a Miss Collegiate USA judge, which of the 3 principles, academia, scholarship, and sisterhood, mean the most to you and why?
I know those, and that is just a testament of the organization. I'll say, like off the bat, that y'all have such incredible values. And I just love that about you guys. I think from a personal standpoint, it's definitely sisterhood because, you never know what you're going to go through whenever you are a title holder. And, there's going to be curveballs and there's going to be things that happen that are not in your control. But as long as you have the foundation of that sisterhood and that friendship with your fellow title holders, I think that is the best way to get through any kind of adversity, even, the good times and the bad times. I didn't have sisters growing up. I have 2 brothers and I love them. They're my best friends. But, gaining sisters throughout my experience at Miss USA was just so incredible and so fun and unlike anything else because, I didn't know what it was like to have sisters. And then, next thing you know, you have 50 girls who are there for you at the drop of a hat, who will do anything for you. And those are going to be your accountability partners, and they're going to be the ones that hold you accountable to stay on top of things like your academics. And if you're a professional, in your professional life, they're going to hold you accountable to stay on top of those things. So sisterhood is the big one for me.
I think it breaks the stigma of pageant girls just want the sparkly dresses and to be on stage. While we do enjoy that, it is really the connections that you build. And how amazing is it that you found, you were able to bond and create a friendship that 3 of your bridesmaids are in your wedding and from the Miss USA organization and through pageantry. So thank you for sharing. It's always a question I love to ask because I think it kind of correlates the perks or benefits of pageantry as a whole. You talked about, I want to step back just a little bit. You talked about supporting local community, and Dazzle's Pageant and Prom is one of the national sponsors of the Miss Collegiate USA organization. And we were just there this past weekend and we saw your beautiful picture with Jill. And so I would love to hear that kind of selection process on the winning wardrobe that you selected to go to either state or to the national pageant, because Jill is a hoot and and is definitely has been in the industry for quite some time. So it seemed like you had built a relationship with them.
Yes, Miss Jill is an icon. She's a legend. She is honestly she's so good at what she does, and she's passionate about what she does, which I just love that about her, because she's not going to try to push a sale on you. She really wants everybody that walks in her door to feel like they are finding something that is true to them and that they love, and they're going to feel their most confident in, whether it's, for a pageant or for an event that they're going to that's, not even pageant related. And she just is so good at what she does. But I got my winning gown that I won Miss South Carolina USA in from Miss Jill. And I just remember the 3 years beforehand that I had competed. The first year I had a gown that I really loved and it was great. My second year, had a gown that I kind of loved. It was kind of a last minute decision. And I didn't hate it, but I just didn't love it. My third year, I ran into kind of a little snafu where I was getting a custom gown made, and I got it the week of the pageant, and it was a night. And it didn't look anything like it was supposed to. And I remember picking it up from the person who made it, and that was still when I was kind of too shy to like announce that I was having like any qualms or grievances with things. And so I didn't want to tell her that like this gown didn't look right. And so I just left, and I got to my house. I live with my parents. I got to my parents' house, and I was just sobbing my eyes out because it wasn't correct. So I had to wear an old dress that I had, which was beautiful. But I just, whenever you have a vision in mind, you want that vision to be on stage. And so all that to say, my final year, I was so determined to find something that I was going to love and feel confident in, whether I won or not. I just wanted to really, really love my dress, because I didn't have that moment in years past. And so I went in there, and there was this white, it's an Ashley Loren liquid beaded gown. It's sleeveless V-neck, and it has a slit, and I still have it in a box. I'm never getting rid of it.
Yes,
and it was one of those that was just like on the hanger. It was pretty on the hanger, but it wasn't like, yeah, I want this. But she was like, just try it on. Like, I want to see it on somebody. It's like, okay. So I put it on, and I had done my hair and makeup that day just to kind of get the full effect. And it was like, I walked out and I looked at myself in the mirror for the first time, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I had never had that feeling before. It was so exciting to feel that way. I just felt so confident, and I felt so beautiful. And that translated to, when I competed on stage too, because I just fell in love with that gown. And she did such a great job of helping me pick my jewelry and, my shoes, and making sure that my hair was right, and the makeup look we had nailed down. And so that process, start to finish, was so much fun, because she played such a huge role in it. So that gown will forever be so special to me. Like I said, I will never get rid of it. I'm probably never going to wear it again, but maybe I'll put it on display and like show my kids someday and be like, look what your mom did one day. So that was kind of the big moment. But I mean, even throughout my pageant career, I have worked with Miss Jill and bought dresses from her for years and years. And she's just great. And I've always gotten a killer wardrobe from her. So absolutely love her and very, very thankful for her.
She has been an amazing supporter of MCU, and I got the opportunity to meet her in person this past weekend. And I mean, boy, does she have energy. She, like you said, she has passion.
Yeah.
She knows what, is really fitting for each young lady. She doesn't pressure anyone. So
Yeah,
I
she's
love
a
that.
firecracker.
Well said. Yes, absolutely. But you are absolutely correct. Correct. There's nothing like having that moment. And I'm so glad that you had that, because obviously it was your Miss
Yeah.
South Carolina USA look. As I said before earlier, you served as a national judge for our system. And based on, what you were able to learn from Erica and from being a part of the organization, what information could you share with a young lady who may be interested in competing in our system, or is new or a veteran into the pageant world?
Yeah. So going back to kind of what I said earlier, y'all's core values and just belief system for the whole organization is so just good and true. And I really enjoyed seeing that, even, I mean, just a little bit whenever I came and judged for y'all. All of the young ladies were just so kind and so well rounded. And they were just so committed to the title of Miss Collegiate USA. And it was so nice to see that. And it was so refreshing, because a lot of times people go into this kind of thing when they, compete for a state or a national title. And it's just kind of in vain. And they just want to do it, for social media clout or just for personal gain. But I really feel like all of the young women that I, got to speak to during my experience with y'all were just so genuine and so, ready to do the job. And it wasn't just for themselves. And so, I would say that anybody that's coming into the system, whether you are fresh and new and have never competed before, or coming from a different system, just know that, the values of this system are very true, very genuine, and just very intentional. And I really applaud you guys for that, for instilling that into your ladies, and for having ladies come in that just value those things.
Thank you for serving on that panel. You all had way too much fun, and I was really jealous to be afar.
Yeah, we had a great time. We had so much fun, and we just all bonded right off the bat and are still connected, which is really cool. So we had a great time. Y'all know how to host.
Thank you. We are all about working hard and playing hard, as some might say. So I want to kind of dig into what is face. It sounds like we're getting married this summer. I know that you are a journalist in South Carolina. So tell me more.
Yeah, so I guess kind of biggest update is that I am getting married this summer. I'm very, very excited. My fiance is a golden human being. He is awesome. And we are really just kind of looking forward to starting our future together and taking it head on. We are kind of a medium distance situation right now. He is from Georgia and is still living there and working there. And so we're just excited to start our lives together. And I think it looks like we will be moving very soon. I think that we have a move to Florida in our near future, which is exciting. Don't really have all the details on that yet, but just with his job, it's going to be really exciting and a big step in his career. And so very excited for that. I am working as a multimedia journalist in Columbia right now for a company that I actually started off as an intern with back in 2018, whenever I graduated from the University of South Carolina. And I've been with them on and off since. They have become like a family to me. They were very flexible with me becoming Miss South Carolina USA. And I kind of left that position for a while so I could give just my full 100% attention to being a title holder. And so I'm back working with them and reporting news on the radio and writing news for a digital news publication, which is just so much fun. And so I'm hoping that when we move, I will kind of find something similar and be able to continue and grow as a journalist as well.
That's amazing. I know that you are doing amazing things is there a place that we can all follow you on your journey following your wedding and your future career, potentially in the South?
Yeah.
Southern.
So my Instagram is my first and last name, and that's MEeraBhonslé. And that's where I kind of put most of my stuff. I'm also shameless plug. Am currently I've taken on a new hobby, and that's making sourdough bread. And so I've been posting a lot about that on the internet, which has been so fun. It is like the most random, kind of weird hobby. And like from the outside looking in, it is like, what is this like secret sourdough society? But then whenever you get into it, you're like very committed. It's like having a kid, I feel like. But yeah, so if you want sourdough updates, they're on my
I
Instagram.
love that. That's like a very unique hobby,
Yes,
but
it
I'm
really
into
is.
that.
It really is. It was one of those things that I saw on TikTok, and I was like, you know what? And I've always loved baking, so I was like, you know what? I can do this. It was a challenge in the beginning, but I actually just baked my second batch of loaves today, and they were phenomenal. So it's very rewarding. It's so weird, but like I said, once you like get into it, I was up at like 12:30 last night doing all of my little things that I need to do for it. And I'm like, what am I doing with my life? This is so weird. But anyways, it's fun. I enjoy it. So yeah.
I feel like there is a future on TikTok following you while you're creating that at midnight. You heard it here,
Yes.
MCU.
Yes. Midnight Sourdough Club. That's me.
You better coin that before it goes out there. Meera, thank you so much for taking the time. It's been fun. I'm so happy that I had an opportunity to actually sit down and talk with you and get to know what's happening. Congratulations to you and your fiance. I'm looking forward to beautiful pictures. I know you said yes to your second favorite dress.
Yes.
And I will definitely follow this sourdough bread extravaganza that you've created on your platform. So thank you for that. That's a good conversation starter, Meera.
It is. It is.